Welcome to another segment of Financially Speaking. I want to take this opportunity to wish all of you happy Valentine's Day. And given that today is Valentine's Day, I thought I would do a show focusing on love and money. I guess some people say, what love got to do with it? I don't know. We're going to find out what love got to do with what money got to do with it. But I believe it's love and money going hand in hand somehow. We have to find a balance between those two. And so we have two couples here today who will talk about their experience about love and money. They've been married for quite a long time. I know one couple has been married longer than me. I think the other couple has been married the same years as me. With that said, I want to introduce our couples. In fact, I'll ask them to introduce themselves, say who they are, and how long they've been married. We'll start off like that. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Adelina Carmichael, and this is my husband, Ralph Carmichael. We've been married for 26 years, but we know each other for 31 years.
Okay, so we've been married for 26. Yeah, I've been married for 26 years as well. Okay. Go ahead. The Seymours.
My name is Sharon Seymour, and this is my husband, Floyd Seymour. We've been married for 28 years.
Wow. Congratulations on that milestone. That's amazing. Yeah. So how did y'all meet?
How we met?
Yeah. Or where did you meet?
Grand Turk, in the capital.
Where?
In the capital. I don't know, man. I think I just, we grew up in Grand Turk together, but I can't recall ever seeing her before, like the summer between my junior and senior year in university.
Oh, okay.
Coming back home, and we had a mutual friend that I was hanging out with that knew I went to look for her, and that's the first time that I could recall seeing her. I mean, to be honest.
Not even in high school.
Not even in high school. Yeah.
I saw him.
She was small and skinny, so
She's still small and skinny.
it was easy to miss her, you see.
Yeah, but I saw him before, but he was ahead of me in high school. Never imagined that we would start a relationship together, but his mom taught me, so I know of him. But he said he never saw me in his life until in 1988 we started talking.
Okay, awesome.
So I believe God probably just planned it that way, where he wasn't supposed to see me until the time that he needed to see me.
Absolutely. And y'all been together for
6 years before we got married.
Oh wow, so 34 years then.
Yes.
Wow. Congratulations. What about you?
A full life sentence.
Hey, a full life sentence. That's a good one though. That's a good life sentence.
Yeah, no, but the life sentence ain't finished. The life sentence is for life.
That's
Exactly.
it. I like that. Carmichaels, how did you meet?
Well, we met at church, and that's 4 years before we got married. You know, we had a mutual friendship that grew into a relationship that ended up in marriage. And I always picture in my mind the type of woman I want to marry. And she had 85%. I make the other 15.
Oh, okay.
So it was easy for me to fall in love with her, and we started this relationship that run right into marriage. We got married on her birthday, and my birthday was the next day. So we wanted a two-in-one kind of thing,
I understand.
Yeah.
And you got married on
We got
December
married on the
28th.
same day, the
Because
same
we got
day,
married on 28 as well.
Yeah, so we share something in common. That's
Yeah.
why we were meant to be friends.
Yes.
Yeah, that is how our relationship started. I don't know if she wants to say something on that too.
Yeah, we met, as he said, we met at church. I started attending the church that he practically grew up in. I think I was around like 14 or 15. Now kind of coming out of high school because I graduated high school early. So that's when I met him, and yeah, we became friends. Because, you know, I was a young Christian, then just accepted Christ, just got baptized. And, well, I used to see him before because he had to pass my way to go home. And he was attending technical school at the time. So I would see him, but I was very shy. I never really spoke to him. But when I started going to church, you know, his cousin and I were friends. And she introduced me, and that's how I know his family, his mother.
Okay.
She was a part of the youth group and stuff too. So, you know, that's how we began talking to each other. He was there when I got baptized, actually. And, you know, so these things led on, and we knew each other for about 4 to 5 years before we decided that we were going to get married.
Okay.
So that's how it just grew into a relationship.
Well, I want to congratulate you because right now there's so much turmoil in marriages. We see a lot of marriages not working out. Divorce rate is high, you know. And, you know, one of the primary reasons also I read for divorce is financial reasons. It's a big issue that leads to divorce. Now, in terms of your finances, Honorable Floyd and Sharon, how do you, as a couple, how do you manage your finances? I mean, do you have joint? It's easy.
It's easy. She make the money, I spend it.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that.
That's an easy formula.
She makes it, you spend it.
That's how it goes.
But we pool everything.
You put all your money together.
To be honest with you, I mean, that's, you know, I got to say, like, Brother Bill always says, Brother Bill Clear is one of the senior members of our church. Whenever he's talking about marriage, he always says, there are no perfect marriages. So, man, you know, so every marriage has its challenges, but I don't think that, so, and like, we would have our challenges as well, but that's not one of the challenges that we've had.
Finance.
So from day one, I think it just, I mean, when we both got married, we were both Christians at the same time. So that was never a point of conflict for us. We've always had one account, I mean, our joint accounts with both of us. We've never had separate accounts. So because we would date, I mean, so anyway, we've never had any separate accounts, and all of our business ventures we've done, anything that we've done together. So that's just not a conflict that we've ever had to worry about.
It's just a natural thing.
That is awesome. But does someone take the lead in managing the finances?
Floyd is an accountant.
I tell you, I spend it, so she make it, I spend it. And that's how it goes.
What about you, Adelina, Sister Adelina and Brother Ralph? I mean, how do you manage your finances, and what advice would you give to persons watching?
We kind of had the same thing since we were single. We had a joint account.
Say what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is how I trusted her judgment.
She had access to your money before?
Yes. I used to work at the bank, so
where
we
my money
opened the
went.
joint account.
So
yeah, his salary used to come through the bank, so we just said, you know what, let's just do, because the benefits as a staff account was better.
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So we decided, okay, let's just do a joint account. So he always say, girl, I really trusted you. I really trusted you from early on with my money, but we never had a problem with money. We've never had a problem. That's not an area we've ever had a problem with when it comes to putting money together or anything. We always have our monies together. We always make business decisions together. So there was never a financial issue with us.
Yeah, you see, I work for the money, and I needed somebody who could manage money. So the good Lord knows that I'm not good at spending the money, so he gave me somebody to manage that money. So that is how we decided to, put our monies together and achieve same common goal.
Okay. Okay. That's very good because I think about a year ago I mentioned this on the show and some of the feedback wasn't too favorable. Some people say that they don't think husbands and wives should if they have a joint account, they should have a separate account for themselves. I mean, in fact, one person say that, they're afraid that their husband might be taking the money and using it for something else. And in fact, one of the persons said it was a bad advice I give, actually, telling husbands and wives to have joint bank account because I think people believe marriage ain't gonna work out.
I think it's a matter of trust.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is.
as long as you
It is.
trust each other, why
Yeah.
should you have separate accounts? You're one.
But even
That's a
further,
good point.
even further than that, when you get married, you basically, for all intents and purposes, trusting somebody with your life, right? Why would you get married to someone that you figure you can't trust with your money?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Sure, right.
Why would
True.
why would you go before God and make a commitment to stay with someone that you figure you can't trust?
Mhm.
True.
True.
So, I don't know. So I mean, that's
Good questions. That's good questions for the viewers to consider. Actually, very very good
Yeah.
questions. And then I mean, also, why would you go to marriage think it's going to fail? Because some people say, well, I know this didn't work out, so I ain't putting that money. That boils right down to the point that Sharon said. It's an element of trust.
Yes.
And I think that's a big element. And do you have anything further to add, Ralph and Adelina?
Yeah, I agree. You have to trust. You have to have a lot of trust. Once you're walking into marriage, you have to have that trust. It means that there's no love without trust.
Okay.
You have to trust in order to love. And if you're gonna love and love wholeheartedly, you got to trust with everything that you have, not only finances, but with everything else, decision making. So, yeah, there's no love without trust.
And I'd say to you, if you don't trust her, make good friends with a good lawyer.
Now, of course, love. Of course, we know the definition of love in the Bible in 1 Corinthians 13. We also know that the Bible says money answers all things. It also says the love of money is the root of evil. What is more important, love or money?
Love.
Love is more important.
Of course.
Why?
course,
Why?
love.
Why is
Yeah.
love more important?
Man.
Because, I mean, number one, God created us to love each other, right?
Okay.
And no matter what you do, I mean, no matter what you gain in life, you can't take it with you. You understand?
That's true.
So, I mean, while you're here on this earth, you're supposed to, the most important thing, first and foremost, you're supposed to do is love God, right?
Mhm.
And then naturally, you would love everyone else, right? And then when it comes to your spouse, as long as you love God and you love your husband, then commitment, that's it, right? The trust with the commitment, you know what I mean?
That's a very good point,
So,
actually.
I mean, no matter how much money you get, I mean, if you get sick or something, it can't heal you, it can't do nothing for you, really. So, I mean, you might have someone that's sick, and just the support of your family, just that person that love you, being there for you, that in itself can make you better, not money.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes.
Very, very powerful. I felt that. It's very, very powerful. You're absolutely
But that's
You're
true.
absolutely right. But the people are there who one of their criteria for finding love is to find a man or woman with money.
Oh.
But that would make them happy.
That would make them happy.
I mean, money is good. I mean, you can have fun with it, and it makes things better, but it's not everything.
Yeah. Saying something?
Yeah, if you love your partner to that extent, would you steal your partner's money if you claim that you so love that person? Love is the driving force that keeps the marriage together. Jesus mentioned love love your neighbor as yourself. So it means that love is an important ingredient in marriage. So if we claim, sir, we love each other, and we don't demonstrate this love in every aspect of our relationship, that is not true love. It means I love myself more than you, or you love yourself more than me. We have got to reach a point where we demonstrate this love that we promote as Christians, not only husband and wife, but as Christians. We ought to show it, and it must be evident to others who might be looking at us. So love is an important ingredient, to say again, in marriage.
Yeah.
There is no love. There is no marriage without love. Some people marry for business, but we don't promote that. We love each other, and we decided to come together, and we will demonstrate this love. Cost it what it will.
So what is love? Is it a feeling? What is love?
Well, there are three types. Let me say, about 4 types of love. There is the agape love. That's the one that God gives. There is the philios. That is the one between brothers and sisters. And there is the eros, or the erotic. That's the one between a husband and a wife.
Okay.
So there are times when we have to showcase this love in these different forms. The love that you give God is not the same love you give your wife. I mean, God gives us the remedy as to how we go about loving each other, but He has given us a love between us that we need to demonstrate from time to time.
Okay. What is love to people? What is love? And,
I think basically we covered, but what I'd say is, a lot of people think of love just in terms of a feeling, and if you've been married long enough, sometimes you don't always like each other. All right. That's being real, because
you're being real. You're being real. Yes, they get on your nerves sometimes.
Human beings.
I know Sharon doesn't get on your nerves.
Huh?
I know Sharon doesn't get on your nerves.
Whatever, Drake.
Twins that come from the same womb don't always get along.
Absolutely.
So you can't expect 2 different people that come from different DNA, different backgrounds, different teachings to always agree with everything. All right. But in the same way that God loves, you think God likes everything that we do?
No.
But He always loves us.
Yeah.
No matter when we fall to sin, no matter when we do something that displeases Him, His love is always towards, and His love never fails. And when you look at the love of God, there's a level we keep talking about this word, but a level of commitment that comes as a result of love that, the scripture says, what shall separate us from the love of God? I mean, so there's nothing that's going to separate. There are going to be times when He is not pleased with the things that we do. There are times when we're going to offend Him, but His love never fails. There's a commitment there that He's made to us, that if we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins, to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. He makes a commitment. The Son has made a commitment that He goes to the Father to prepare a place for us, and if He go, He'll come again. All of these are commitments that He's made, and there's a commitment that if we live right and we put our trust in God, we will spend an eternity with Him. The same way, and I think all of those are different things that reflect His love, that no matter, while you may have those ebbs and flows, the most sincere and holy of Christians have those ebbs and flows where sometimes you're on a spiritual high, and sometimes not so much, right? But even when you're going through those periods, God is still committed to us. He is always, His love never fails.
That's right.
And the same way that it is with us in marriage. I mean, so even though there are times when you go through those ebbs and flows, and the imperfections of the marriage show up more than at other times, if you truly love them, you would be committed to them to ride through that period. And sometimes we talk about marriages. Sometimes the marriages fail. I mean, things happen for different reasons. So no judgment on anyone. But sometimes it's either one or both may not truly love that person, because when you truly love them, you make a commitment to see them through those rough periods, right? And so that's my thinking is that if you look through 1 Corinthians 13, I mean, there's a lot of different specific things that we point to, but if you truly look at it, there's a level of commitment that's being communicated in that scripture.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Very, very good. In terms of your, I'm gonna go back to the financing now. In terms of your financing, you pool your resources together. How do you decide? I mean, of course, there are certain things you have to pay. You got to pay your mortgage or your rent, whatever, groceries. How do you decide what to spend and how much to spend? I mean, do you have a budget? You have goals? How do you do that?
So what I'd say to that, before I answer your question, what I'd say is that even from when you're pooling, you actually have more resources at your disposal than at yourself. So then even from an investment standpoint, if you're looking at opportunities to invest your money, you have more to be able to invest. I mean, just with simple things. I mean, there's a reason why the banks are going to look at stuff differently when they're looking at both your income as opposed to just one individual income. It just creates bad opportunity. People, there's simple things like mortgages and stuff like that. But so it creates more resources at your disposal. But also it creates a sense of responsibility as well, because if you know that you are not just managing for yourself, because when you're young and you're doing stuff, if it's just your money, there's a different mindset where I'm here, I could do as I like, I could be in money going and stuff. But when you have someone else that's also affected by those decisions, I think it creates a different level of maturity and different level of accountability. With respect to the question that you asked, I don't think that there's no one right way to do something. Different things work different for different people. What I'd say was, when we more at the beginning than now, but when we first started, we used, not as bad as you, but we used to account for almost every single.
Oh yeah.
We still account for our expenditures and stuff, and it gives us an opportunity to review what we're spending on and plan what we wanted to spend. So you have to have goals, and you can't wake up one day and expect that you're going to have everything in place for your goals. When we first got married, because we didn't have any scholarships or anything like that. Maybe none of us, we never had any crown land or anything like that. So we had to first get rid of student loans and that we had. Then we had to be looking at.
Okay, so
at
when you
paying
so
off.
when you got married, you had debt.
We had-
You had
We had
debt.
student loans.
This,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
So, right. But together we were able to get rid of each of the student loans that we were able to get to free each of us. We were able to acquire parcels of land together and build our home together. I mean, but and I think that together, when you work simple things like that together, it's easier than trying to do stuff on your own. Nowadays and stuff, I mean, this sometimes you get into a groove and you kind of understand, what we're doing and stuff. So for bigger decisions, we're having more conversations about them. But for everyday stuff, I mean, you get into a groove where you kind of know where you are, you know what resources you have and what's disposable and what the big picture is, right? So and you have and what you're saving towards. Sometimes I know I'm talking long, but
No, that's okay.
but
This is good. This is good.
As a point, like sometimes you see people that are looking to, because we're in real estate, you see sometimes you see people looking to buy a home, and it's only when they actually see the home that they like, then they realize that they don't have what the bank's actually requiring in terms of down payments, stuff like that, right? And then as when you're single, and I don't want to be disparaging, but I find it more with single people than married people. That single people, so even though they may get to a point right now, they want a property, but they don't have the down payment that the bank requires, so they don't get the mortgage. But then 2 years, 3 years, 4 years later, they're still in the same
state.
position. But when you but I find that people that are married, because there's another voice there, and you can counterbalance each other, there's a greater ability to hold each other accountable and understand that you have bigger goals. It's not just about
I like that.
about a car and a vacation or the party for the younger kids, but if you have goals, just working towards meeting those goals, because it's not, nothing happens just like that. Nothing happens overnight.
Absolutely.
So you've got to take incremental steps to get there.
And stay focused and
stay
work on
focused,
achieving those goals. Sharon, you have anything to add before I move on to Ralph and Adelina? I mean,
Let them talk.
how do you deal with your expenditure? You put your money together, you just let it flow. How do you deal with it?
Well, we look at what we got. Now, we know that bills is a must. You must pay your bills.
Yeah, your
So
light bill, your water bill. all-
Exactly. We don't look at our wants. We look at what we need. So that is the way we look at things when it comes to paying bills and and acquiring stuff. We pay our bills. We don't pay our bills with what is left. We pay our bills and we do whatever we want with what is left. We take care of the important stuff. Well, of course, we got children going to school. School fees gotta pay. Mortgage gotta pay. So we look at the important things. We analyze what our resources are, and we put that to work. My wife could explain better because she's the one who sit there in the middle of the month and decide, well, NHIP gotta get paid, this person gotta get paid. So she itemizes it. So she has a better idea as to how this works.
Yeah, we don't have a big budget. We have a little budget, and I wouldn't say that we have a lot of debt or anything. It's just your regular day-to-day expenses, as you said, like your utility bills, school fees. We have a child at university as well, so we have to take care of him. So we have a little budget, yes, that we would work with and try to get those bills paid, as early as we could. And then what is left, of course, you would take something out for savings, because you have to have something. Once you have children,
Yeah.
you have to have something put aside for a rainy day, as we would say. But outside of that, we have a small business as well. And, you know, even in managing your money, you have to have a separation of things. Like, you can't use the business money to pay for your personal stuff.
Good point.
Exactly.
Just make sure you give yourself like a little salary and you look after your personal stuff out of that, so that you could keep things separate, you know.
That's a good
So,
point.
yeah, we don't have a lot, but we try to manage the little that we have, we try to manage it properly. Because, you know, as the Bible says, God looked at how we manage the little things before we could give us bigger things or bigger
Exactly.
responsibility. So we try as much, and we consult each other as well. As Ralph would say, he don't want to work for the money and then think about spending it, how to spend it. But as much as he would say that, trust me, he has a record in his head. I might be the one with the bookkeeping, but he has it in his head. He always would say to me, Adelina, if you're going to spend money, you must be accountable for it. You must know what you're spending on. You know, so that if I ask you at any point in time, what did you do with this amount of money that we had? You should be able to say, well, you know, I paid this or I did this, this and that. And, you know, it kind of shook me when he said it the first time. Because, you know, I'm the one who does the accounting and stuff. But sometimes he used to ask me like, so you did with, you know, and, you know, some of us women, we multitask.
Okay,
we
okay,
multitask.
okay.
So you can't always say, well, and it kept him asking me that question, it kept me accountable.
Okay, that's what, right?
Yes, it
That's-
kept me accountable. Even though I knew what I did with it, but I wasn't readily able to give it to him when he asked. But it made me now when he asks, I'm able to say, look, I did this, you know. So even with the little that you have to be accountable. You have to know what you did with it, what you're doing with it. And we always consult, like if I have, even though it's the regular expenses during the month, like I would pay our son's tuition at university, I would still say to him, Ralph, well, today I'm paying Azel's bill, you know, or whatever, so that if he at any point looks at the account and wants to know, how come yesterday we had this and today we're having this, you know, he at least he knows. So we consult each other.
So that's communication as well.
Yes,
you know.
communicate. We communicate we try to communicate on every level, you know. So that's important too.
Right.
Very,
so
very
so
good.
the same
Yes.
thing she said. We do the same thing. Like we separate the business from the personal.
So
And
you
we
pay yourself a
consult-
salary.
And we consult, yes, and all of that. But I would.
I pay her commission and I spend it. But Jax, I mean, I do. But on a serious note, I mean, one of the things that people take for granted, I don't care how much money you make or how little, don't ever spend a single cent before you pay your tithe.
Tithes.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
yes,
I
of
mean,
course.
because,
No, we
That's
didn't
the
even
first
touch
thing.
that. We didn't
Yes,
that's
tithe.
That's the first thing.
That's one. That's the
And you'll never be without.
That's the critical
Trust me.
thing with money management. If you put God first, if you put Him first with your finances, then he finds a way. Right? I mean, the thing is, man, we've been through a lot in our lifetime, right? I mean, I can tell you, man. I know at a point when Sharon was in school and I was home working, I mean, when we were paying back student loans and all that type of stuff. I mean, one of the reasons why I left the government and moved to Provo, I had a place I was renting in Grand Turk for $350.
$350 a month.
And I had trouble with that.
Paying that.
Paying that.
Wow.
And I was the number 2 person at the FSC at that point.
Wow.
Tracks me.
Wow.
I worked for the government for 9 years. Never made $1,800 a month.
Wow.
Before I left. So the point that I'm making to you is that when you trust God with your money, even during the difficult times, He always makes a way.
He does.
Don't
Amen.
ever
He-
leave Him out of
Out of the equation.
out of your finances.
Yeah.
He has to be the first priority.
I'm glad you raised that. That's very, very important. You know, I mean, after all, it's God who's blessing us
Exactly.
Provider.
with the money that we're receiving. What is this to give back? You know,
But all
can-
the money
you know,
belongs to him.
Yeah,
So he's,
you know,
he's just
so-
asking you out of
Yeah.
obedience to give him a portion. You know, it's not that he wants to use it or anything, but he wants to prove your commitment to him. God, you give me this amount, and I'm going to give back to you. So that is a way of saying to God, I am committed to you, and you are committed to blessing me.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I know you mentioned about the $350 a month and struggling, but how were you able to deal with, because all of us, I believe, at some point in our lives had struggled financially,
Yes.
and it probably put some stress on the marriage. How were you able to deal with that? Trying to meet the needs, but you don't have the money to assist with your expenditure, and you're struggling. You're living off of paycheck to paycheck, or you're not even living from paycheck to paycheck. You don't even have enough to live for the next paycheck. And you have your marriage, you have your family. Well, I didn't even ask you guys about your children. We have to come back to that. How were you able to manage during those times when you didn't have much?
That's when
We-
you gotta trust God.
Floyd, just like Floyd said, I mean, God provided. It's like you don't know where it's coming from, right? And everything always falls into place. Every single time, it falls into place some way, somehow. You know what I mean?
I understand.
And what I say, Editor Drax, is that, I mean, I'm not joking when I said, I mean, finances have not been an issue for us. I mean, we've had times where there's things that we wanted to do, and sometimes things that we needed to do, and we just didn't have the money to do it. It's just a matter of prioritizing and dealing with what you can at that time. Some things that you have to do, you can't do everything now, so some things you got to do later, and sometimes you got to do in pieces.
True.
But you know what I mean? So even when you can't do everything, God still is with you, man. I've never been someone that, we've never been people that looked and was envious about what anyone else was.
Oh, I
Right.
love that. I love that.
was doing or with it. I mean, we run our own race, right? I mean, and we are grateful and pleased and grateful. We're great and thankful for the blessing God bestowed upon us. 'Cause He blesses us in ways that He doesn't bless others, and He blesses other people in ways that He doesn't bless us. But I'm just grateful for what He does for us. So, man, the people that we know that may have this or that and different, that's not our race.
No,
right? We
no.
run the race that's set before
Yeah.
us.
I always get a question. People will say, you know, how we make it in the real estate because, you know, it's unbalanced.
They're right. It's not something
really
every month is
unbalanced.
not stable.
It's not, yeah. And it's sometimes it can be almost like you have to work a million times harder to get, you know, where you want to get, you know. But in the end, I always encourage myself and say, what is for me is for me. Ain't nobody can take that away.
That's right.
So anyone who talking to me, you know, about stuff like this, like things that they're going through, whatever it is in life, any situation, I always say to them, what is for you is for you, and no one can take that away. Just trust God. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad Honorable Floyd raised that point about the comparison, and I think as a lot of us have failed we're comparing ourselves with other people. We see people with other things, and we want to get those things like them. You know, you're not in this world to, you know, God, everybody's unique. You know, God has, I mean, plans for you, and we're going after these things, and then we think that's going to satisfy us. Then we see somebody else with something else, and we go after that thing. The important thing is you set your goals, and you pursue those goals and stay focused. Don't compare yourself to anybody else.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a trap.
Problems,
You're going to find yourself borrowing money from people because you're trying to live up to the Joneses.
Yeah.
You're going to find yourself borrowing money from the bank because you want a bigger house because your friends got a bigger house, or your friends got a new vehicle, so you got to, they think they can get a vehicle, and show them something. they got 2022, I ain't got 2023. You know, so we don't need to do that. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself and you might end up even having marital problems. You know, because your wife or might be nagging you to do something like the neighbors or her family, whatever. So you have to be Floyd. You have to be very, very careful of that. Stay focused.
But
So
God
why
knows.
Why are you gonna be sexist and only put the naked on the wife?
Man, why you made that obvious?
But Drex,
Yes.
God sees the heart. So when you're happy, if I'm happy for you, then God is pleased.
And that's
You know what I
love
mean?
too.
So, yes.
And that's
so,
love.
so if I see someone with something really nice, I'm happy for them. I'm not envious of it, or I don't feel like I have to have it because you have it. Because I know what is for me is for me. That's like Floyd said. That's my race is my race. What is for me is for me.
I pray
that's
to
how
God.
That's how you're supposed to look at it.
Absolutely. I pray, I say, God, because once or twice the jealousy spirits, came on me. I say, Lord, no, please take this away from me. Take this away from me. I say, well, because it's like a spirit that comes on you.
Yeah.
I say, oh, no, and so.
You have to dismiss it quickly.
Yeah, we that's very, very good. We have to be careful. Tell us about your family, your children, and I know you're in real estate. What, Century 21? Tell us a little bit about your business and your children.
Okay.
Floyd wanted. How many children you wanted? 6. All right.
Okay. We have one child.
Yes.
Akia. She's 18 years old. Currently, she's off to university.
Yes. And you are co-owners of Century 21.
Yeah, we're the brokers of Century 21.
Century 21 is the largest. Century 21 got more companies in more countries and have more offices than any other real estate organization in the world. And so we own the local franchise. For that, we've been open for 18 years.
Oh, wow.
Now, and
same as your daughter's age. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of the reason for the company is when she was born, just with creating, and so when she was born, I think that kind of spurred us to move to doing more entrepreneurial stuff to try to leave a legacy for her, but also to have a little bit more flexibility in your time, because Akia was actually baptized on our 10th anniversary, so we were married for 10 years, so we didn't want to be in a situation.
That's my goddaughter.
So we didn't want to be in a situation where she would have just, not that you slacking, but if she needed you, you couldn't say, well, I need to be there to go there for her. Because if you have to be at a job 9 to 5 or whatever those hours are, sometimes things happen, and depending on the situation that you're in, you just can't do it because you have different obligations.
Yeah,
so
that's other people's job.
Right.
And so we because we had a long time before we had her, we wanted to be in a position where whenever she needed us, we could be there.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest with you, Drax, sometimes God leads you into something you don't always see.
True.
A lot of times
you don't always see it happening, and so we ended up here, and God's just, this has been a tremendous blessing where God has blessed. He's blessed us. He's blessed our business. We're continuing to grow. I don't know if I should I don't know, but even uh, we're supposed to be doing a press release and stuff in a little bit, but just with showing, like with the blessings of God, I mean, for 2022, Sharon was the #1 Central 21 agent in the entire Caribbean. Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
so
God
just-
is good.
Congratulations.
And all of that
Yeah.
is really just the blessings of God. Right?
That's
And-
awesome
and
news.
so we just continue to give Him all praise and honor for everything.
That's what we got to do.
Mhm.
Before I go to Carmichaels, though, I mean, how does it feel working together? Because some people, if you don't mind talking about it, I know it's personal, but because some people say they can't work with their husband, they can't work with their wives. How are you able to balance that?
What I can say to you, Jackson, I had no gray hair before I started working with my wife. But honestly, I mean, what I mean, Jax, to be honest with, I say that jokingly,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, but man, I like hanging out with my wife. I like my family, so I don't have an issue. At work, it does have a different dynamic, right? And it's easy to sometimes, at risk of getting crossing myself later on Valentine's Day. It's easy sometimes, because I think women are a little bit more emotional than men, and so if there's something that happens at work, there could be times that sometimes that they end up
Taking it home.
going home. I mean, because and this is only, and then when you're working for yourself, it's when you're working for yourself, it's a 24/7 job. I mean, when I worked for the government, when I worked for KPMG, if I needed to work, I always tried to separate home and work. So even if I needed to work 8, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever, I stayed to the office and work. And when I went home, I was home.
That's another good point.
But when you're working for yourself, you can't do that. I mean, because I mean, it's more. I can't say you can't. It's more difficult to do that.
Yeah.
I have not been able to do that. To do that because your business partner is also your home partner, and so
And also the nature of your business, too.
You're right.
and
We
the
get
nature
calls
of
all the
right.
time, and you're gonna
So
take
it's-
it.
So, but I'd say to you, man, to answer your question, man, obvious, man, if you spend a lot of time together, there's always going to be occasional points of friction and stuff, but it comes back to what we were talking about earlier,
True.
understanding your commitment to each other and loving each other and moving through that and understand even when you have those little
Yeah, and you're two different people anyway.
Only temporary.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Sister Adelina and Brother Ralph?
Well, we have 4 children together.
Mm-hmm.
The eldest, 25, Alia, 20-year-old. We got a 15-year-old, and we got a 12-year-old. I mean, that is not easy to manage, especially when these children reach teenage years, especially the boys. You get some challenges coming along the line,
Yeah.
and they're now finding themselves, they want to think that they already arrived,
Right.
So now and again, you got to put your foot down. So, but I never had children that I had to be running at the school and, sorting things out. And, God has blessed us with children that is very respectful.
Very good. Yes.
That is why it is even easy for me to send my, at that time he was around 17, to send him away to school. I was so proud when I went to his graduation a couple of years back. There is so much compliments as to, how this boy carry himself,
Yes.
And he even had these young fellas that he was with. They gravitate to him because, I don't know, they see something in him that even his principal, he said, man, he ended up getting the principal award because of his leadership ability
Wow.
and these kind of things. That is why the Bible says, train up a child in
Yeah.
the way that he should
It's
go.
a great reflection of your parents.
Yeah, that when he's old, he will not depart from it. And we see that working for our children.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, every stage in life, you will have to administer different counseling
Yeah.
to them, you know, bringing them up, especially. Well, I couldn't do much for my daughter because I expected my wife to deal with that part, you know, especially, you know, when they turn young lady, the
Right.
things, the precautions they need to take and these kind of things. So that is what we did to bring these children to where
Yeah.
they are at present. And so far, that has been working for
God
us.
is good. God,
God
is
has
good.
been very good.
Yeah.
So we can only do so much experience, but we got to leave the rest to God.
Good. Yeah.
He said that which we commit to Him, He's faithful to keep as
Yeah.
against that day.
Absolutely.
And so far, every one of our children, when they were born, a couple of months after, we commit them to Christ.
Yes.
We offer them up, as we would say.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that for them to go otherwise, they have to jump over all these training and all these protection and wherever to go and do what they want.
Yeah.
But so far, the good Lord has been good to us
Praise God.
in helping us to raise these
Praise
children
God.
the
Praise
way
God.
He wants them to.
Praise God.
Yeah, well, as Ralph said, we have 4 children. Our eldest is 25, and that's our daughter, our only daughter.
Mm.
And then we have 3 sons, and you know, people would say, "You have 4 children, 3 boys." You know, like boys are. But as Ralph said, we have been blessed,
Yeah.
and it hasn't always been a bed of roses, but it's how you train them. We establish a family altar. Not a literal altar, but every Saturday we would sit with them, Saturday mornings, because, you know, most times they're home.
Everybody's home.
Yeah, everybody's home, and we would pray with them. But outside of praying with them, we have a time after prayer and explaining the word, you know, reading the Bible and stuff with them. We have a time where we would ask them, "How has your week been? Is there anything you want to discuss?" As Ralph would say, current affairs. You know, and these things help us to know how they're thinking.
So they're
You know.
open with you.
Yes, and that's one of the things we always say when we have children. It must be easy for us to say things like, "I love you."
Yeah.
You know, when we grew up with parents that we knew that they love us, they would show it, but they wouldn't always say it.
Yeah.
You know, they were old time.
I know exactly what
you
you're
know.
saying.
So you know that your parents love you, they provided for you, but there was still this kind of, there wasn't an openness. Like certain things you wouldn't feel as open to talk with them about. I remember when I met Ralph, I was just, 14 plus going into 15. Well, I went to school early, so I graduated high school at the age of 15 plus. So I was scared to tell my mother that, you know, I saw this boy that I liked or whatever. But eventually I had to tell her, and I was surprised that she didn't, you know, react the way that I thought she would have reacted.
She know about mom. And
That's it, Rob. That's it, Rob.
Yeah, but we never wanted that for our children. We wanted them to be open.
Yeah.
We wanted them to know that mommy and daddy love you, and instead of going to a friend for advice, come to us first.
Yeah.
So we, you know, that's the way we once they're not being disrespectful, and they're not disrespectful children, thank God. You know, we always say you don't have to be disrespectful to get your point across, but we have these discussions, and I find that they have been very open, sometimes too open, but this is the way you want it to be, you know, and so that you'd be able to advise them instead of them going to a friend who might give them wrong advice.
Right.
And one of the things, talking about financially, we have trained them in a way where, you know, sometimes I'm amazed. We would give them money and say, well, I'm a person who loves to cook and bake, and so I would cook every day for my family, except sometimes Saturdays I would say, okay, let's eat out or whatever. And it's not just because the love of it, but sometimes you can't afford to always eat out.
That's true.
But one of the things I've realized is, my children are so accustomed that we would give them money sometimes and say, just buy some lunch from school, but they would prefer to save that money. Because they know when they come home, mommy has food home. But it teaches them how to manage money
Yeah, the saving.
at the same time. And we have taught them, we don't hide anything from them. If there's a point, if there was a point in our life where we couldn't afford to buy certain things for them. Children, they watch TV. Mommy, can I have that? Or Daddy, can I have that? We wouldn't say, we would sit them down and say, look, Mom and Dad would love to buy that for you, but right now we cannot afford to buy that.
Yeah,
And they
just
have
be upfront
grown
with them.
Yeah, they have grown to be very contented. They never throw any tantrum for anything. They have grown to be contented and I believe not because they're children, you need to be open with them.
Yeah.
Let them know this is the position our parents are in. Your parents are in at this moment. So that has worked for us, in times when we couldn't afford to give them certain things. That has worked for us.
Well, my time is up. I love to extend this conversation. I get in the queue. But it's been an amazing show. Very, very informative. I really enjoyed the show, and thank you, the Seymours and the Carmichaels for being here today. And I think you think you put a lot of hope to people. A lot of people have even given up a marriage, but you've been married for 28 years. You've been married 26.
Yes.
I've been married for 26 as well. So it's great. These are great stories and great hope, and that there is balance between love and money. With that said, I want to wish all of you a happy Valentine's Day. And thank you for watching Financially Speaking. There will be no show next week, as I understand there might be a House of Assembly meeting. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.